We're playing chess now. Now, this guy is no piker, this Garry Kasparov. He is like the all-time greatest chess master in the history of recorded time. Garry Kasparov, and we're playing chess with him. Here's where the game board is right now.
Much like Zoe Saldana, Nielsen Ratings chose not to reply to my email. Because of this, I can't give an exact number, but with Letterman's nightly ratings well into the millions in the late 1980s, his correspondence game against Kasparov is a strong candidate for the most watched chess game of all time. In the white corner, we have the most dominant world chess champion since Bobby Fischer. In the black corner, the king of late-night TV.
It's the ultimate battle of tactics, strategy, and wits.
In the beginning, if you lost, you had a finger cut off or you were killed.
Mathematically speaking, there are as many possible chess games as atoms in the visible universe.
And from his birth in Azerbaijan in 1963, chess was the game for Garry Kasparov.
My life experience prepared me to identify evil at an early age. Not my life as the chess player, not even as the youngest world champion in history. No, my relevant experience is where I was born and raised, in what Ronald Reagan accurately called the evil empire, the USSR.
According to the official legend that's told by my mother, and probably that was, true, I was watching them trying to solve the problem from a newspaper column. And I learned how to play without being told how to move the pieces.
My father said that I would have to study chess because he thought, my mind, and he was absolutely right. My mind was a perfect match for so understanding, this is the logic of the game. So tragically, my father died when I was 7. But my mother continued this work, and she since my father was gone, so she dedicated her life just to my success. So she never married, and she was the best manager I could have in my life, because she helped me to learn more about the game of chess, but without pushing too hard. So there's always a risk that if you start playing too much and you're trying to actually climb too fast, you can fall. So she just wanted to make sure that I could be gently pushed in the right direction.
You look at it, you consider it a violent game.
Yeah, absolutely, because you are proving your superiority, mental superiority. It's much more dangerous than physical one. And your opponent, when he loses, he feels terrible.
Now I want to play you in a game. Is that all right?
Really?
Yeah. Do you mind? We have it set up so we can carry on a long-distance chess competition.
Are you ready for the end of the game?
I'm ready.
Yes. And do you know what will happen when you lose?
Well, yeah, I know. I'll feel awful, but I just want to give it a go. Okay. You told me what to expect. All right, so we're going to start it tonight. All right, bring it out, boys. Bring out the old chess game. And Garry, you and I will go over it with you. These are our chess experts, Al and Joe. There you go. Thank you very much. From the United States Chess Federation, Al and Joe. You go ahead and start. You go ahead and make the first move.
There's no bench to play.
You fool, I'm sure.
Damn! I'm screwed! Look at that! Oh, now what?
It will be even worse.
All right, okay, and then it'll be a correspondence match, all right?
Correspondence match, yes.
Okay, here we go. Yeah, so that's it. And we'll continue this for as long as it lasts. Now, can you tell anything about my opening gambit?
Very bad.
No, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just pretty much what you did. And you're like the world champion. Look, I did that and you did that. It's the same deal.
No, it's not the same deal.
Well, all right, how about that?
Better.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we'll continue this. Garry Kasparov, we'll be right back.
Those were such dramatic matches in '84. I mean, for young people today and people who aren't chess followers, it's hard to imagine the amount of interest and then the drama of, because they were all such close and dramatic matches with comebacks, and then they canceled, didn't they, the 1984 match before it was over?
It's also, we should remember that, and to inform our audience that after 1972, Fischer's victory, Fischer left chess, so he refused to defend his title in 1975. So, and Anatoly Karpov was proclaimed world champion.
Kasparov was over after game 21, which he won. And so if I would be even a little bit more lucky, then I could get back all the point difference.
Thank you. How can you explain that in critical moments, in all your matches with Karpov, in the critical moment, he collapsed completely? How he doesn't stand the pressure, or you are able to stand the pressure much more than him?
It happened in 5 matches.
Yes, but
in every
always
match.
In the important game.
Yes, he lost all important games.
But once you said that the difference between a great champion and the other is this critical moment when you win the game, when you make the decision.
Yes, I can repeat it again. I think Karpov, maybe it's a problem that Karpov never played match against the champion of his time, Fischer. And that's why he is not ready for the big fight. He never had an opponent of his strengths. And that's why he wasn't ready for the big match against me in 80s.
And then in 1978 and 1981, Karpov played Viktor Korchnoi, who was a former Soviet player, defector.
Yes.
Like an evil man, so a traitor. And Soviet propaganda built those 2 matches, especially the first one where, Karpov won a very dramatic event, just winning the last game with score being 5-5. So, the final victory, gave Karpov in game 32, saved Karpov from a disaster, and it was trumpeted as a big victory of Soviet political system. And of course, he was personally congratulated by Brezhnev and praised by top Soviet authorities. So Karpov became kind of a cult figure. So this is the man who helped to bring back the title from the Americans in 1975. Okay, nobody remembered that Fischer hasn't played, but what was important, that Karpov brought the title back, and also he twice defeated a traitor, a defector. So challenging Karpov was somehow like challenging, a Soviet myth. And while I think the authorities in Moscow, at that time, I doubt they saw me as a potential freedom fighter. So it's just, yes, of course. As I said, I was half Armenian, half Jewish, but I think it was kind of instinctively they could smell that I was not a loyal party soldier.
Yeah.
So I was not like Anatoly Karpov. So I was a rebel, and it says I was too unpredictable. So I think they just wanted to avoid trouble. So that's why Karpov received full support. But
you beat him.
But he was. It was a hell of a player. So we should give him credit.
In the Soviet Union, where he lives, our next guest is a national hero. 4 years ago, at the age of 22, he beat his arch-rival Anatoly Karpov and became the world champion of chess. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Garry Kasparov. Garry, this is very exciting for us.
For you?
Yes, for me. Well, good. I'm glad to hear that. How long have you been in the United States on this trip?
6 days.
6 days, and this is your second visit?
Yes, second visit.
And what other than New York? Have you been all over the country or just in the East?
Just Washington.
Washington and New York.
Washington and one extra day in New York tomorrow.
Do you like what you see of this country?
Yeah, but I'm very busy usually. I saw the city through the window of my car in the hotel.
Yeah. What do you do when you're on tour? Do you play chess wherever you go? Is that the deal?
No. Usually I'm involved in different activities.
Yeah.
Like promote chess or have press conference or I'm invited to the shows.
I'm guessing now that chess is not as big in this country as it is in your country, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
It's pursued with a fervor in the Soviet Union. People are very excited about chess.
No, we had nothing to do.
I see.
Yeah, that was the best way for self-expression.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we mentioned that you're a national hero. What is your life like?
National hero.
Yeah.
Well, it's multinational state in our country. A national hero. If we have many nations in one country.
So you're a multinational hero.
I hope so.
Yeah. But what is your life like there? I mean, in the Soviet Union.
I live in the sky.
You live in the sky?
Traveling, yes, around the country.
So you're always traveling?
Almost.
Yeah. Do you win a lot of money when you play chess?
I hope so. It's enough for me. Maybe it's much less than tennis players or soccer, but it's.
Yeah.
I'm very happy.
Now, when you played Karpov for the World Championship, how much money was at stake?
Oh yeah, last match in Seville. Yes, I won a lot. It's about $700,000, but by the end $700,000. Yeah, I won, but actually I had by the end it's something like 10% of this sum.
Mm-hmm. Why is that? What happened?
I don't know. Just the dexterity of fingers, just it's magic, and it disappeared. I don't know. It's unfortunately, it's our tax system is not really down yet.
Talk to me later about representation, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so now the board is as it was 2 weeks ago, and this is Mr. Kasparov on the phone here from Paris. Hello, Garry.
David.
Yes, how are you?
I'm perfect.
How are things in Paris?
Oh, this is brilliant now.
It's
Monday night. Hello in Paris. I'm in a restaurant, of course.
Of course. Yeah,
of course. It's quarter to 12. What should I do in Paris?
Bonsoir. All right, Garry, go ahead. Tell me about your move here. It's your second move.
Pawn takes pawn. It's still black.
All right, your pawn takes my pawn?
Yes, still black.
Okay, now what do I do with this one?
I don't know. It's your business.
Okay, now it's my turn, and I'm going to get the queen. That's the one that's a little smaller than the king.
And what are you going to do?
I'm going to move up 3 and take your pawn.
My pawn. Now I have a whole week to think about my next move.
We'll give you a couple of days. I want to ask you now if you would like to give up.
If I have to give up, not for you, I've got the targets here.
Okay. All right, we'll get back to you.
Okay.
All right, have fun there in Paris. Huh?
Thanks.
Well, I think you can see I've got him right where I want him.
I spoke to him after the show the last time, after the initial show.
What did he say?
He says it won't take long.
Yeah, I know. He beat that computer he was talking about. The smartest chess computer in the world. He beat the... what do I do with this, by the way? It'd be a shame if we messed up these pieces, wouldn't it?
I'd like to introduce a very young man, incredibly young for what he's accomplished, from Baku in the USSR, a man who at 26 can very reasonably claim, and he's being heralded as such, as the greatest chess player in history. I'd like to introduce the champion of the entire world in chess, the world champion, Garry Kasparov.
I mean, this is something. This is an event. Kasparov. There's been no one like him in the chess world since Fischer. That generates this kind of emotion. It's sort of hero worship. Bad guy, bad boy kind of emotions. That he's just perfect to be the first person to go in. The first world champion to go in with the emerging strong chess programs.
Garry, if you were to lose in the next few years to some super machine, what effect do you think the loss by the world champion to a machine will have on chess as a creative and as a business enterprise?
You mean within the next 5 years? Yeah.
Well, whatever.
Okay, thank you. It means that I will be world champion for the next 5 years. Thanks for this compliment. Yeah, I understand. I think we'll find enough human ability to fight, especially against a computer. But if computer beats one day, I don't know what will happen. I don't think that chess will be stopped. But it will be very unpleasant, not only for the chess players, but for the human race itself, because it means that you can provide better mind than the human one.
I don't think it's taking away the human creative soul. In a sense, we are creating something that's human, try to duplicate the human's behavior, in some sense.
Trying to create a super, thing that's unhuman, that's better than humans. Can you do that?
With trying to build something that's better than all human in a specific domain. Now, what does that do? Unclear.
After 10 moves and an exchange of minor pieces, the game is fairly even. about ready to play. Ooh, it's coming up, and that gives it a score. It thinks it's got almost half a pawn advantage at this point. It thinks white has a very strong position in this particular configuration. White has a very strong, dominating position in the center, and Deep Thought likes that sort of position.
The experiment is being conducted at the New York Academy of Art, an unlikely laboratory for what became a media event.
I'd like to introduce the protagonists. First of all, from Carnegie Mellon University, where they created this. They're now at IBM, incidentally. I'd like to introduce the men and the brains behind Deep Thought. Murray Campbell and Fengxiang Xu.
Hey, can you describe what it was like the day you played Kasparov, what the atmosphere was like in that room?
Hostile.
Hostile.
It seemed like almost all the people there were rooting for Kasparov, except for maybe a few people in computer science who were rooting for the computer.
Well, I was at Carnegie Mellon, where the actual computer was located at the time, and we had a small room set aside for spectators. So we assumed they'd all be, people who are familiar with Deep Thought and who would root for Deep Thought. But even there, almost no one was rooting for Deep Thought. Almost everyone was hostile.
And once a machine could be programmed to play, why not to win? That was human nature.
It's been a dream, one of the initial dreams of computing science since computers were first invented 40 years ago, to be able to build a machine, or in those days, write a program that could defeat the human world chess champion. It was just posed as an interesting problem. And it's been 40 years that we've been working very hard on this problem.
At first, programmers thought they could succeed by imitating the human player. But by the late 1970s, as computers grew more powerful, scientists began to rethink how the computer game could approach the highest level of play. To beat humans at their own game, it would have to be done the computer's way.
You think that the human mind is something special. It's more than just a machine. And when you're beat by a machine at something that's considered to be the epitome of intellectual activity, something happens. I mean, either the notion of intelligence or chess or something has to change when this happens.
This may be a place to study the nature of problem solving, the potential of the computer. But that's not on the mind of Garry Kasparov as he sits down to begin play against the first computer good enough to challenge a world champion.
I'm going to start the clock now. Everyone be quiet and no more talking, please.
In the game of chess, every move counts, forming a pattern of attack or defense. The power and role of each piece is determined by its relationship to other pieces on the board. A pawn may be the weakest piece, but on the right square at the right time, it can threaten a king. Both man and machine have the same goal: how in every position to find the best possible move, but they won't find it in the same way. Kasparov calls upon every resource of memory and knowledge, of imagination and inspiration. Deep Thought does what a computer does best: crunches numbers, millions of them.
Computers deal with ones and zeros and add and subtract. The Grandmaster deals with initiative, momentum, attacks, defenses. He can't even explain some of the things that he did. If you ask Garry Kasparov why he made a certain move, he'll say, well, it was just the right move, or it feels right.
What Garry Kasparov knows is the weight of history, the burden of defending a tradition traceable at least to the 6th century, to India or Persia. When the Caliph of Baghdad was asked, "What is chess?" he answered, "What is life?"
It's looking at close to 700,000 chess positions every second as it's calculating this. And by the time we're done, in maybe a minute, that's 50 million chess positions.
The computer is considering every conceivable possibility. But I don't have to pretend that I'm seeing everything in the position. I make no such pretensions. In fact, I discard 99% of all possible variations. But what I'm seeing almost as instantly as deep thought is calculating and reassessing thousands of variations is the soul, the heart of the position, and I'm right there.
How humans play chess hasn't changed in 500 years. Deep thought is driven by electrical impulses that produce a brute force search. Soviet grandmasters like Lerner and Tal, known as the magician from Riga, respond to more inexplicable urges: instinct, intuition, ingenuity. A computer doesn't know this side of the game, or the hero worship it can inspire. And then, after 52 moves, it was over.
Rook to E2 by Garry Kasparov, and in this position, the computer admits defeat.
Back at his drawing board, Hsu is working on what he calls the ultimate chess machine. One that by running 1,000 chips in parallel will look at 1 billion moves a second and become champion of all the world.
Yes, in the forever future, yes. Something that a 3-year-old will hold in their hand will beat the world champion. There's no doubt about that.
And you started as a small boy playing chess?
Yes.
You
small,
were?
Yeah, small poor boy from Baku. This is southern city.
How old were you?
That was my mother. I think I was about 5 or 6.
And how did you get interested in the game?
Oh, I watched the game played by my father and mother, and that was very exciting. Yes, just about moves, rules. Yes, Then I started to play. I came to the Pioneer Palace in Baku, and I had a very fast success. Yeah. About 10, I was a very strong player. I mean, even club player.
At 10 years old, you were?
Yes, I was.
Now, are there things about the game that you still don't know? Can you learn something new about chess every time you play?
Absolutely. Well, when I know everything, I will stop to play, yes.
Yeah. Are there an infinite number of chess situations?
I think so, but nobody knows the number, yes.
Yeah,
I think it's enough. For my life, it's enough.
Yeah. Now, when you played Karpov, I guess the time before last,
yes.
He was reported to be physically exhausted, emotionally exhausted,
yes.
And considering checkers, from what I understand. But how?
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree with you, but the match was interrupted, maybe because of this reason.
Yeah, but how can the game, a board game, have that kind of an effect on a guy playing it?
The board game? Oh, look, the soccer match lasts for 90 minutes.
Right.
Yes, tennis match, 5 hours. But we play chess one tournament. It's could be 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month. This match has been lasted for.
It was about
180 days, something like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's enough to be exhausted.
Now, do you do things to psych out your opponent, to give yourself an advantage going in?
I want to destroy his will. I'm trying.
You lost your father when you were very young.
Yeah, I was 7.
Yeah.
So and he was just 39. He died from leukemia. So, and it was really big shock. I mean, it was such a lovely couple, my mother and my father, and since he's gone, she spent her entire life working for me. So, and just for my success. So, and I couldn't be more grateful for my mother. She turned 76. She's still full of energy, and the energy is just concentrated on helping me in my numerous endeavors.
That those endeavors revolved around chess was fortuitous. For a young player, there was no better place to be than the Soviet Union.
Why was chess established by then as the national sport almost?
No doubt Russia had quite strong chess traditions going back to the mid-19th century. Don't forget, Russia included Baltics at that time and Poland, and many great players actually came from that region. Yes, especially Jewish players. Yes, but in general, there was a strong foundation.
So I grew up in a family with my mother and her parents, my grandfather. I was a diehard communist.
Is that right?
Yeah. But on the other side, I had a very strong influence on my father's younger brother. This is from the Jewish side of my family. My father was Jewish, mother Armenian. So
two peoples who had a tough 20th century.
Yes,
right?
and my uncle, introduced me to the Jewish intelligentsia in Baku. So I had access to the books that were, say, not freely distributed in the Soviet Union, so I could actually hear the other side of the story.
More than just a tradition, chess was actively promoted by the Soviet Union's revolutionary leaders. In a country obsessed with excellence, especially when it came to competing against the West, the game was a means of demonstrating not just sporting, but also intellectual superiority.
The world champion in the Soviet Union was not just a champion or the champion of any given sport discipline. It was a public figure, seen by many as the role model. And there were very few options for kids to succeed. So that's why parents, if they wanted their kid to become special, chess was a natural choice for many parents to make.
Garry astonished his tutors with his natural aptitude for the game, taking the all-Soviet junior chess title in 1976. He was just 13.
Went to France, and I was probably, within, my family and the circle of friends, I think I was the only person who visited a capitalist country.
Wow.
Because it's people who travel outside of the Soviet Union. I mean, there was a very, very tiny group.
It was hard to travel.
It was because there were so many obstacles. So
right.
You had to go through a very complicated procedure. Again, it's hard to imagine for boys here in US, or in Europe, in the free world. So that that were born after the collapse of the Soviet Union. That in order to receive your passport and a permission to travel outside of the Soviet Union, you had to go through a very complicated process of selection and approval. And you even a boy, just underage, 13-year-old. I had to be part of this, of this process. I remember, I was, with a group of adults at the meeting of the sort of local committee of the Communist Party, because it's like a vetting process. They had to give permission. It's again complicated bureaucratic process, and of course for countries like France, the United States, the England, Italy, the capitalist country, it was much more complicated.
But they sent you abroad to play chess.
No, they sent me abroad by chess. But again, I was 13-year-old, and they sent it without my mother, because they were. This is a precaution.
Defect.
Exactly. If a talented player, half Armenian, half Jewish, travels abroad with his mother, who knows? I had no intention of staying abroad. My mother would never do that. So we had all the roots, in the Soviet Union. But still, they didn't care. First time my mother traveled with me abroad was in 1983. But in 1976, I was sent with just a coach I never met in my life before. So there's a good coach from Ukraine.
In 1984, Garry finally got his chance at the biggest prize of all, the World Championship. But to win it, he'd have to beat the greatest chess player of the time.
Anatoly Karpov, son of a worker from the Urals, learns chess at the age of 4. Master at 15, crowned world champion in 1975, national hero in the Soviet Union.
Was there the most personal rivalry in that contest to most of them? I mean, did you and Karpov really not get on, really?
Look, any match of that caliber, is a personal rivalry, period.
Yes.
And naturally, you know, this kind of rivalry creates a lot of tension.
And in fact, there was a sense in which people around the world sort of pictured Karpov as the regular communist and you as the sort of somehow voice of independent freedom or whatever. It became a bit political in that sense.
Anatoly Karpov received enormous support from the state and became some sort of the savior of the pride, intellectual pride of the Soviet Union. He followed the rigid discipline of the party rules, while I was some sort of a rebel. So I believe that there are certain rules that I have to obey, but you know, in the big picture, you know, I didn't believe in following these rigid regulations. I was not shy of giving interviews to the Western press, again, at a time when it was quite questionable.
Yes.
I mean, not as dangerous as in Stalin's or Brezhnev's time, but it still, you know, was not welcomed by Soviet authorities.
Yeah. Do you remember a guy years ago in this country, the champion Bobby Fischer? Do you remember hearing of him?
Yes, of course I remember. I never met him because I was 9 when he became world champion.
And he defeated Boris Spassky, is that right?
Yes, he defeated, yes. He was a prodigy of chess. I mean, he's one of the, maybe the best player ever.
And what became of him?
Became of him? Oh, okay. He won all games against chess players. But I think he lost his game against chess because he couldn't keep this tension of the game.
Now, how can you avoid doing that?
Oh, I like life, you know. It's Fischer.
What else do you do in your life? You say you enjoy your life. Everything like what?
Do you take
vacations?
Like you. Yeah. No. This is my only problem. No vacations. Yes. Okay, 3-4 days, but usually I have to change the subject.
Are they worried when you're in this country? The people back home, are they worried that you might defect? Being a multinational hero?
Multinational hero.
Hey, that's not ours.
Even in the Soviet Union, people who were critical of the current regime, most of them, with very few exceptions, believed that it was not due to the sort of the rotten nature of socialism and communism, but more to just it was due to the bad implementation. Right. So the very popular myth of the good Lenin and bad Stalin, you know, dominated the sort of in intellectual circles in the Soviet Union. And I have to confess that, you know, I was somehow, you know, hostage of these views for quite a while. So only in the mid-'80s, you know, I could just realize that, you know, it was nothing to do with, you know, with good Lenin or bad Stalin. So it's a bad implementation. It's, you know, gulag, you know, concentration camps, the purges, famine, you know, and it's suppression of all sorts of freedom. It was inevitable. It's you know, no matter you know how you play these moves, you know, it will end up, you know, with the same result.
All right, we want to take you back to our top story. Worldwide condemnation to the murder of anti-Putin activist Boris Nemtsov. He was gunned down yesterday near the Kremlin. Supporters are remembering his life in Russia and Ukraine. Meanwhile, Western leaders are calling for a transparent investigation into his killing. So what was your reaction when you first heard that Boris Nemtsov had been killed?
I was shattered. I knew Boris for a long time, for more than 2 decades. And since 2004, when he lost his seat in the parliament, we have been working together in building different opposition groups to oppose Putin's regime. And Boris was an amazing man, full of energy, full of life, and ignoring all the dangers and threats, he has been working tirelessly until his last hour to reveal the crimes of Putin's regime. We know that Boris has been working on his new report disclosing the presence of Russian troops in Ukraine. And before he had numerous reports describing the wrongdoings of Putin's inner circle, ransacking of Russian treasury by Putin's friends, and many personal attacks on Vladimir Putin's record of destroying democracy in Russia and violating human rights. It's a clear signal. You know, his murder was a lethal one because it was committed in front of Kremlin. there are more video cameras, recording equipment at that place than in your studio. And the very fact that those who committed this horrible act chose this place instead of actually waiting for a few more 100 meters and finding, you know, a dark corner in a muse or in a yard next to Nemtsov's apartment, demonstrates that they believed that they would not be caught. They had strong backers, and it was a clear signal, you know, seeing Nemtsov's body lying down on the bridge few hundred yards away from Kremlin. That's the most powerful signal they could send to anybody in Russia who is still thinking of opposing Vladimir Putin. What do we know? That so many Putin's enemies have been killed. And every time we hear the same story that somebody did it to discredit Vladimir Putin. And I have no doubt that people behind Putin, people from Putin's inner circle, they were those who gave an order to commit this crime.
It's clear that this news is not easy for you to digest. I just want to ask you, do you ever fear for your own life?
I live in New York for the last 2 years. So I left Moscow in February 2013 without any plans to actually stay outside of my country. But while I was abroad, I got an invitation, a quote-unquote invitation from Russian Investigative Committee, inviting me to sort of to be questioned about one of the many political cases they opened at that time. And I spoke to my friends, Alexei Navalny, another opposition leader, and like Boris Nemtsov, and their advice was very simple. You come back, you go to this building, you enter it as a witness, and if you leave it, you will leave it as a suspect. So stay away, because this regime could do whatever. And I stayed away, so that's why I'm here, I'm alive, and Boris is in Moscow dead.
Maybe they're robbed. I'm sure they were in the past, but now it's they can do nothing with it. Yes, sorry, but I don't see any reason why I have to do it, because I can travel around the world. It's easy it's much better to sit on two chairs, you know. I have so many friends, relatives, and fans in my country, and I can easily visit another one.
When will you be defending your title?
1990.
1990?
1990. Yes.
Pleasure to meet you. Thank you very much for being here. Garry Kasparov. We'll be right back. Did you see one of our United States congressmen on the show a few minutes ago?
Yes.
Yeah. What did you think? What were your impressions?
Interesting. It's better than our politicians.
Really?
Yes. It's more fun.
Yeah. So you're 26.
I'm 26. You want to become a politician? Yes.
No, I don't
look like American congressman.
No,
that probably won't happen.
Yeah, but I just thought maybe your observations on people.
That's okay. I was very pleased to see it.
Okay. Well, we want to clear everything with you.
Please.
Sure.
Paul, do you play chess at all?
I know how to play, but I haven't played.
I hardly know how to play chess at all, but this little thing we're doing with Garry Kasparov, perhaps the greatest living chess player in the world, is beginning to sweep this nation, and believe me, this nation needs sweeping like wildfire. Thank you, Anton.
I can't help but thinking that this is the graveyard also for great unfulfilled hopes, because so much could be achieved, and this is the country where Robert Fischer reached his peak. But it was not only his peak, but it was one of the most glorious moments in the history of the game of chess, and it could have ended differently. So it's not for us to come up with hypothetical versions of alternative history, but it's still very sad. So it's as if that's in this graveyard we could feel that so many great hopes and expectations have been buried without being realized. So it's it's all behind us. So it's all the controversies. So what is left is that the unique contribution of Robert James Fischer to the game of chess, and I'm here to pay this tribute. It's a huge sense of sadness because he stopped playing chess at age 29. It's insane. So how much can be done? So how much could be achieved? Just if not for this terrible tragedy that put him away of the game of chess. And again now, after everything is behind us, all these controversies and all things that have been associated, unfortunately, with Fischer's name, what is left is just this sadness that he's gone. 1972, and what I couldn't help myself but thinking is I never met him, which is also quite amazing. So Karpov was 9 at age, and at 9 in 1972 when he won the title, but still, there were many opportunities technically, but unfortunately, again, it didn't happen. That's something that, of course, I will be missing. 1972 definitely was one of the greatest moments in the history of chess. I don't think chess ever reached such a peak of popularity as in 1972. And I could only dream of using my abilities to make sure that the heritage of 1972, and this is the memories of Fischer's great rise, will be somehow, repeated in the future. As I put in just in the book of condolences, it could be a great dream of working together with him to promote the game of chess, but it didn't work out. So, but still, this legend, I'm sure, will accompany us in our quest for making the game of chess as popular as Fischer wanted.
What did you do today in Moscow?
I had several discussions, and as usual, there is nothing special.
Mm-hmm. Several discussions.
Yes, several discussions.
You're not in any kind of trouble, are you, Garry?
Trouble? Not yet.
Did my name come up in any of these discussions?
No. It's friendly discussion. Don't worry.
Okay, all right.
They call him the greatest chess player of all time. From super brains to supercomputers, he's taken them on. And won. But now this Russian is locked in a different kind of struggle.
This regime is criminal, is a police state.
Have the middle of the road.
I always said that corruption in Russia was not a problem. Corruption in Putin's Russia is a system.
I trust U.S. intelligence agencies. All of them are unanimously confirmed that Russia was behind these hacking attacks. And there's no way that any Russian agency could afford to attack the United States without direct order from Vladimir Putin.
My interest to help this debate to be elevated to a level where it could end up with a proper policy, because that's what is required. America cannot lead from behind. If America doesn't lead, the world will be in chaos. Some people don't like America being what they call world policemen, but you know what happens when policeman is not on the beat. And it's whether you like it or not, these threats are real and they require American involvement, not necessarily boots on the ground, but strong policy combining different methods.
The goal of the other Russia is not winning elections, but to have an election. We're trying to force the regime to accept our rights to participate in free and fair elections, to agitate Russian population, Russian public to support our ideas. And the event today, it's the first one of that type when people arrive from all over the country They went through the same democratic procedures in each region. They elected their representatives. Also, some could say the event is very small because we couldn't rally, massive support in the regions, but we are sticking with the procedure. I think it's very important at a time when the regime totally destroyed democratic institutions in Russia, and the other Russia, we are coming up with an alternative. In America, everybody thinks about Obama, McCain, Clinton, and debates, while in Russia, we are dealing with a shameful farce with predictable results. March 2nd is not even a milestone anymore, because we all know that Medvedev will be a successor. And that's why the main slogan of our demonstration on the 3rd will be aimed against this power transition.
Please, wait, Putin will fix it. If people in Russia realize that Putin cannot fix it and Putin is not a solution but a problem, then, as we know from history, something happens.
Today is an important milestone in the development, or in fact, degradation of Putin's regime, because every letter of the law was violated, not even at the time of the rally, but even beforehand, when many people, including myself, were voluntarily arrested while committing no crimes, of course, and even there was no even action. And now this court is looking at this matter. But one of the things that is obvious, that the report from the police stated that I and many others were arrested at 1:30, while I was arrested 12:05, and everybody saw it. So it's a lie from the very beginning, and this regime showed its true colors and its true face. But now I have to rush back, because otherwise I'll be arrested for violation of the court order. Thank you.
Yeah, there are people who think Russia is Putin or Stalin. For me, Russia is Sakharov, and I could start counting many great names. I've been playing on the Soviet flag and the Russian flag for 25 years. I'm probably the most decorated Soviet and Russian athlete in history. I grew up in what I call Russian Empire, so I don't have Russian blood in me ethnically. My mother is Armenian, father is Jewish, but I grew up in Russian culture. Russian is my native tongue. I could, trust me, I could speak Russian much better than Putin. Yeah, set aside writing. In 2005, when I stopped my professional chess career, I moved into Russian, again, politics. But it was a very different game for me, because I knew it was not about winning or losing. It was just like a moral imperative. I wanted just to do whatever I could to prevent Russia from sliding back to the dictatorship. I was not successful. As a result, I had to leave Russia, and I'm resigning in New York now. My mother is still there, and that's quite painful, because, when my father died, she dedicated her life to me. She's 78, and we could meet occasionally in Estonia, in Croatia, elsewhere. But she also recognized that, there was no other choice. It's something that you should do. When I was a kid, 9 or 10, she put on top of my bed the motto, "If not you, who else?" So for me, it's like my moral duty, and we have occasionally conversations in our family. My wife is sometimes scared, because people who are criticizing Putin, they could be in big trouble. But I do what I believe I have to do, and I also believe that sooner or later I'll return, because I'm probably an uncured optimist by nature, and I think that Russia cannot disappear from the map. It may be smaller in size, because we can lose some territories, but eventually Russia will play a role. It could be a negative role, It could be a positive role, but it will be a very important role to define the future of mankind. And I will be always available to offer my experience, my skills, my intellectual qualities to help Russia to move in the right direction. Going back to chess, and I like to use chess because again and again we hear that chess is being used as metaphor for just about everything. A football match is a chess game, a politician in trouble is close to a checkmate. Chess is, and its symbols frequently used in advertising, billboards, and even people that do not have a personal knowledge of this royal game, they instinctively recognize chess as a unique game for complexity and strategy. So, talking about intuition, I just want to give another example from the game of chess. I've been working now on the book called My Great Predecessors. For me, it's this book. There will be 5 volumes. It's my great contribution to the game of chess because I wanted to study the development of the ideas through the personalities, through the personal input of every great player that ever lived. So it's 200 years of the constant development of the game of chess. And I found a very interesting thing because I analyze all these games with the help of the computer. I'm trying to go to the depths, to the bottom of the chess truths, to make sure that I realize how all the games were conducted and where mistakes were made and where the great ideas were unleashed and uncovered. And what I discovered, that at the toughest moments of these chess battles, just sitting and thinking, these great players, they very often found the best move just because of their intuition. And ironically, after the game, when they had the luxury of moving the pieces around and analyzing the game and writing their commentaries, they made more mistakes. Sounds ridiculous because they could move the pieces, but the intuition was switched off. They didn't use it because it was not a moment of the greatest tension. It was not a moment of ultimate truth. So they lost a very important quality that made them really great. Very often I've been confronted with the question, especially in old Soviet days, why Soviet Union is dominant in the world of chess? Why the all great champions, they come from the Soviet Union, not from United States or from other parts of the world? And everybody was trying to find out, something in the national psychology or in certain circumstances that surrounding their life in the communist world. And of course, there were a number of things that could be attributed to this phenomenon. But first of all, it was about sheer numbers. The communist regime offered very little as a future opportunity for kids. So that's why parents tried whatever was available. So chess was one of the big chances. Chess, ballet, music, other sports, maybe fundamental science, no business, no politics, no law. So that's why the energy of the nation was consumed by these few directions. So the Soviet chess officials that always used chess as a tool to promote the intellectual superiority of the communist regime over decadent West, they always enjoyed millions and millions of kids going through the system. And they could pick up Karpov, Kasparov, Tal, Botvinnik, and other great players. While in America, the choice was reduced to a very small area in the East Coast, a three-state area. So that's why maybe a little bit in Chicago or in Bay Area in San Francisco. But eventually, we were talking about 50 or 100,000 kids. So once they were lucky to find Fischer. It's a human nature. It's our instinct to rely on our past success. It's to rest on our laurels. But the opposition is not asleep. They're after us. And I could give you a personal story where I paid very high price. I, in fact, was a victim of self-delusion by not recognizing the fact that my past successes had nothing to do with the upcoming challenge. When I won the World Championship title in '85, I worked with my tutor, Mikhail Botvinnik, and we reopened his school, the school I graduated from in the '70s. And we had many, many talented kids from all over the place in the Soviet Union. And one of them was named Vladimir Kramnik. He first appeared there when he was 12 in 1987, and both me and Botvinnik, and we always argued.
But we both agreed that this boy had a unique potential. So we were right. He grew up. I had a number of occasions working with him. And then even in 1995, I invited him into my team when I had to face Vishy Anand, an Indian prodigy, one of the best players in the world for the last 10 years, when we played a World Championship match. Just a few words about that match, which was also a very tough challenge, where I succeeded. The match was played in New York in the World Trade Center, on the 107th floor. And it's a tragic coincidence. The match was opened on September 11, 1995, when Mayor Giuliani made the first move. Anand played wide. So it was a very tough match. First 8 games were drawn, and I was under heavy pressure because Anand probably was better prepared. He had many of my ex-compatriots working for him, some of my ex-coaches or some of the ex-Karpov coaches. They contributed to his preparation, and it was really tough. And I lost game 9. After 8 draws, I lost the game. I was trailing 1 point. And then in game 10, I was able to demonstrate a great novelty that shook Anand's confidence. And in game 11, I actually came back with a new defense with black, and it was too much for Anand. So with new ideas, actually, I demolished his confidence. And after, winning no games in the first 9, I won 4 in the next 5. So the match was over. But I forgot that Kramnik, who was a part of the team, was very accurately making notes and analyzing the performance. And 5 years later, I had to play Vladimir Kramnik for another challenge, for the World Championship match in London. And it was a great year for me. From 99 to the first half of 2000, I had probably the best winning streak in my career, maybe the best in the history of chess. I had the highest rating ever. I won a number of tournaments, eventually all tournaments I played, and the quality of chess was superb. It just was great ideas, splash here and there, in the openings, in the middle game, in the end game. And so I believed, as everybody said, I was unbeatable. It doesn't mean that I stopped working. I worked really hard. I came back with new ideas. I wanted to surprise Kramnik, and I believed I had enough strength to win. But he was a good pupil of Botvinnik, and he was a good pupil of Garry Kasparov. He looked at all the games, and he found that even, on this burning sun, there were some spots. So there were certain positions where I didn't feel very comfortable. Certain moments where I slipped, where I was hesitant, where, you could actually find out that Kasparov's game was not very consistent. So he designed a strategy, a great strategy to drag me from the territories where I felt most comfortable into the territories where I felt shaky. So it's like, two different, types of game, like in tennis. Somebody has a huge serve and then rushes to the net, and someone is playing from the back line, just waiting for mistakes and then hitting hard. Kramnik played from the back line. But he also was very smart to know exactly where I could make mistakes and on what turf he could prove that Kasparov was not unbeatable. The match was a disaster for me. In 15 games, I couldn't win a single one and lost 2. And I lost the match to Kramnik. I was out-prepared. I was 37. Of course, it was a disaster. But I had to, I had to come back in terms with myself. And I just recognized I had just one way to go. It's go back to school to learn. We should not be too proud to learn from young generation. Otherwise, we'll not be able to come back. So I learned. I studied. I recognized all the reasons for my failure. And I was back on the winning train. For the next 4 years, I played 11 classical chess games with Vladimir Kramnik across the world. So I haven't lost a single one. I won 1 with 10 draws, but that's good enough. That's a big change. I won more tournaments, and I'm still #1 rated player because I believe I'm capable of learning. And I'm not feeling ashamed even of learning from young generation. It's a challenge. I'm used to be the youngest champion of the Soviet Union, the youth champion, the champion of the classical championship in the Soviet Union. I was the youngest world champion in the history of chess. But now I'm facing an opposition that is not young. It's ridiculously young. Some of my young opponents, they're too young to vote.
So I came here from Reykjavik. I played the rapid chess tournament, and in the quarterfinal, I was seated to play against a Norwegian boy, a great prodigy. He's 13 years old. So I played this boy, and I just said, wait a second. He was born when I played my 5th match with Anatoly Karpov. So, but it's a challenge, and it's a unique challenge. And I think, this is by having this clash of generations in chess, we are producing great results. It's our experience, our sagacity, our strategic overview against their fearless energy. It's aggressive approach. That's how chess is being moved forward. What also bothers me when I hear time and again that Putin played great chess. Geopolitical chess. He plays chess, Obama plays checkers. I mean, come on, it's just this, I have to defend the integrity of my game. In chess, it's all transparent. You can see what's happening on the board. It's about, long-term strategy. So you just, you play by the rules. Just as I remember when I stopped, my professional career and moved into what people mistakenly call Russian politics. Yeah. And the first question was, whether I believe that my chess experience could help me with navigating in this rough waters of Russian politics. My answer was absolutely not, because in chess we have fixed rules and unpredictable results. In Putin's Russia, it's exactly the opposite.
It adds to the public frustration because people recognize that in the country where there's no legitimate parliament, where many challenge the legitimacy of Putin's election, we also have no court. Again, we knew it before, but this is a case when the first time we have a political prosecution. We have many political prisoners, but it's the first time when people have been tried for political protest.
5 years ago, I was on this stage to talk about the relationships between humans and machines. Today, I'm here to talk only about the relationships between humans. I regularly say in my lectures on artificial intelligence that humans will always have a monopoly on evil.
The invasion began on February 24th. For months, Russia had been massing troops on Ukraine's border, but most people, including in Ukraine, didn't believe it would actually happen. The morning of the invasion, I was in Kyiv, and we woke up to watch Putin speaking, and about 5 minutes later, we started to hear the first explosions.
Vladimir Putin has just addressed the Russian people moments ago, announcing what Putin called the start of a military special operation, in his words, to demilitarize Ukraine.
I mean, judging by those words, this appears to be the worst-case scenario.
Anyone who is surprised at Putin's war crimes in Ukraine must not be aware about his long record, beginning with the Second Chechen War in Grozny more than 2 decades ago. Vladimir Putin has been a war criminal from the start. If I knew the person who could replace Putin, this person most likely would be dead. Yeah, it's the dictators, they succeed in staying in power for so long because they have eliminated opposition, any seed of opposition. It's longer dictator stays in power, more he turns his country into political desert. And who can survive in the desert? Quite, dangerous animals. Very few of them, like snakes or rats. So I'm not telling you that the end of Putin, which will be abrupt, most likely violent, will bring Russia to a democracy. No, it was quite naive for Americans to believe that the end of Gaddafi's regime could lead to an immediate democracy in Libya. 42 years of repression. So what could you expect? So All I know is that the longer Putin stays in power, it's the higher the price will pay. So that's why sooner it happens better, though again, there's no guarantee there will be positive outcome. My hope is that there are so many Russians, we're talking about probably hundreds of thousands who are now abroad. It's especially young Russians who are educated in the foreign universities. And, when the moment comes, the new Russian, you may call it government, whoever will be in charge will have an opportunity to replace the corrupt Putin's vertical of power by the new blood, by those who had a very different education and different values.
There. Oh, you have several polls. Which one?
I moved to one to the right. It's the 1 second in from the right, one notch in, moved him one notch up. It's this one. Oddly enough, his name is Ed. He's right here. Do you ever do that? Do you name your pieces?
No. I want to give you back my queen.
Okay, so I'm moving it back there.
My queen takes your knight.
Wait a minute. What's the matter with this guy? He's playing without me. All right.
You're a good friend, okay?
All right, so
it's a good gift, Christmas gift.
All right, we're playing another move. Your queen is taking my knight.
Takes your knight.
Okay, there we go. And now it's my turn.
Yes, your turn.
Okay, now I'm going to take your queen.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, but be careful. David, I think that a very important surprise will wait for you tomorrow.
Yeah, I know. I think I'm going to get screwed here.
Yeah, maybe.
All right, but I have the queen.
Yeah, you have the queen.
All right, Garry, we'll talk with you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye.
All right. Coming up in this half hour, Van Morrison will be here, so we'll be looking forward to that. Monday on the program, Nastasia Kinski will be on the show, and also John Candy. And I believe, does that kick off Mad as Hell Week? Yes, it does. Everybody on the show that week is mad about something, and usually me, I believe. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's time now, I believe. We've just about run out the rope on our big chess match. That's right, kids, get ready. It's time for... Okay, here's the big chessboard. We've been playing chess since Labor Day. This is Garry Kasparov. He's in London, greatest chess player in the history of the game. Hello, Garry. How are you?
Hello, Garry.
Yeah, nice to hear from him. Van Morrison's on the show tonight.
Oh, great.
Yeah, he asked me to give you his best.
It's my best?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What about you?
Okay. Now.
How do you feel?
Huh?
How do you feel?
I feel fine.
You feel fine? I think I have very bad news for you.
Okay.
I think the game will be over tonight.
Well, that's what I've been told. I feel like the game may just about be over. Go ahead and do what it is you have to do.
No, wait. First, I'd like to ask Paul to have a special victory music for me.
Special music from Paul. Sure, Paul, go ahead.
Victory music.
Hey, give me that cigarette.
Like victory music.
Get the butt out of your mouth. I'm sorry, Garry, we're having a discipline problem here tonight. Go ahead and make the move.
On my move, please take my white square bishop and put it on rook 5.
Okay, there.
And I think, David, this is checkmate.
Checkmate.
Yes. I'm so sorry.
The game is over. Well, let's go 2 out of 3.
You're very good company. You're very good company because almost every grandmaster in the world was checkmated by me.
Well, I appreciate it. I had a good time playing with you.
Yes, now you join big club.
Okay, thank you. Have a good weekend. Congratulations.
Yes,
bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So I was in fact very lucky. I have to tell you, I was very lucky that I had plenty of obstacles. I had not only to fight Anatoly Karpov to get to the top of Chess Olympus and to win the world champion's title, but I also had to fight the Soviet system that didn't want me to become the world champion. Thanks to them. If it's not for this resistance of the system, if it's not of this tough opposition, I wouldn't be able to learn how to fight. And eventually, I stiffened my resistance. I was trailing 5-0 in the first match. I fought against all the odds in this world. Eventually, I saved the match. The match was closed when it was 5-3. And then I beat Karpov in the second match. So I had an opportunity to go against a formidable, overwhelming force and to survive. And that always makes you stronger. And also, when I started playing chess, I had to fight a local chess federation. Then I looked at the Soviet Chess Federation. Then I looked at the FIDE, the International Chess Federation. They were all trying to create obstacles. Eventually I recognized it was not only about FIDE, but it was about Soviet Sports Committee. And then the next logical step, you have to look for the roots. And the roots were with the Soviet system. And by recognizing it, I made the only decision I could make, is just to go against the system, against something that was wrong and prevented me and others to realize our potential. So we can summarize all of that. We have talked about talent, about hard work, about timing, about luck, about obstacles, about necessity to reinvent ourselves, to reevaluate our strengths and weaknesses. But at the end, I would like to give a personal story that helped me to develop my own philosophy. So the core of my own winning philosophy. And it's also related to chess. In 1985, November 9, 1985, I won game 24 against Anatoly Karpov to become the youngest world champion in the history of chess at age 22. Next day, FIDE unwillingly proclaimed me the 13th world champion. And it was a big celebration. And in the midst of this celebration, I was approached by Rona Petrosian. She was a widow of 9th world champion Tigran Petrosian, one of my great predecessors. And to the contrary of the spirit of this great day, she told me, Garry, I'm sorry for you. What? She says, I'm sorry for you, because the happiest and the best day of your life has just passed. I was too young to recognize the sad wisdom in these words. But yeah, and by aging, okay, or by maturing, I recognize that there is something very important that we have to learn. Because at one point, sooner or later, we all approach our goal. Some of them are even reaching our ultimate dreams. And so what's next? It's a big danger. The gravity of the past success, our rest. No, we have to go ahead, but where? Where we do find the confidence? And I believe that it's not for us to recognize where is the end of our creative potential. So we have to continue our quest for new challenges. If we could conquer one peak, why in this world we think we cannot do it with another? So it could be a great risk. We could be in great danger. If we take a new, very powerful challenge, we're in danger of losing a battle or even being annihilated by an overwhelming opposition force. But for the sake of realizing our potential, for the sake of fulfilling our mission in this life, for the sake of reaching our final life destination, which could be somewhere hidden somewhere in the foggy horizon, it's a risk worth taking on. And at the end of the day, I always had a simple belief in a motto: if not you, who else? Thank you.